I'm going to call the City Council meeting to order. Pastor Sluter, would you please come to the mic and do the prayer, and we'll get started. This is Pastor Sluter from Central Church of God.
Yeah. First, I want to apologize to the mayor and to council. I was supposed to be here last month. Somehow it got on my calendar wrong, but I showed up a week late. It was a good prayer, but you all missed it. But as we go to the Lord, I'm thankful for the second invitation. Heavenly Father, we pause before this meeting begins to honor you and acknowledge that you are sovereign and ultimately in control. We take comfort in knowing that you are all-powerful, but that you are also a God of compassion. When Jesus was here on earth, the scripture says in Matthew chapter 6 that Jesus, when he came out, he saw a great multitude and was moved with compassion for them. The same eyes of compassion that was on that community are the same eyes of compassion that are watching over our community tonight. Lord, I pray over our mayor, Sue Lynch, and all the city council, that they would lead with the same compassion that you have. I pray protection over their families while they are here tonight doing business for our city. We pray protection over our police, firefighters, and first responders. Protect our city from the spread of COVID-19 and allow the business that is done here tonight be for the good of the people that this council has been elected to serve. Lord, we also pause and pray for the mayor's friend who's dealing with a physical battle right now. And we know that you're able to reach down and touch her. You know all the complications, but Lord, you are ultimately in control and you can bring healing. I ask you, Lord, to do all these things tonight. In the mighty name of Jesus, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Sluter. We will please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and face the flag. Gina, would you start us off? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Nina, would you please do the roll call?
Councilperson Alvarez?
Here.
Councilperson Podgorski?
Here.
Councilperson Geishurst?
Here.
Councilperson Clem? Councilperson Williams?
Here.
Councilperson Gully?
Here.
Councilperson Zilli?
Here.
We have the approval of the September 1st, 2020 minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from September 1st. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Any amendments? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We have communication correspondence announcements from the mayor. I really don't have any. I have a couple for the members of the council. I've had a person in the audience say that they, because we wear masks, have a difficult time hearing us. So please speak into your mic. Some of you speak softly, so speak closer to your mic so they can hear you. Also, I'd like to announce that we are having trick or treat in the city. It is from 5:30 to 7:30 on October the 31st. We are also having an event called Light Up the Gourds. I have some handouts here, and it's a drive-through through the Bonner Center Drive, and we are inviting people to come and set up booths and decorate with pumpkins and let our kids drive through. No one will get out of the car. Everybody will drive through. We also have a house decorating contest, and that contest is if you decorate your house, we will have a Golden Pumpkin Award for those, so sign up on our city Facebook or call the park or the city and sign up to get your house in there. We will post the pictures online, and the public will vote on the scenes, and then we will announce the winners on November the 2nd. So that's all I have. Clerk Treasurer, do you have anything to say here?
I do. I just wanted to say that, oh, I guess I
Gato can't hear you.
can you hear me? We've been working on a lot of work on the budget for this year. Well, how about this? So we've been working on that. With that, we have to update our entire chart of accounts. The State Board of Accounts is not going to accept anything else anymore. We've even gotten an update from our vendor to help us with the process. We're working on bank reconcilements going back to 2017 to clean those up. I've been working with the State Board of Accounts to clean up an erroneous equipment lease fund that's got $1 million in it that's not really there. Continuing to secure CARES funding, we were eligible for reimbursements to $1.2 million, almost. We've received almost $13,000 to date, with pre-approval for an additional $367,000 more. With the expanded parameters, I'm certain we'll be able to leverage all of that.
Good work.
Kiosks, we're going to, before the end of the year, be rolling out payment kiosks, one at City Hall, one outside of City Hall. It will allow for contactless options to pay utility bills. Eventually, I would like to expand that to, building permits and contractor licenses, but that's down the road. It also includes a new pay portal for our website, a revamped one that will be funded by CARES funding. It also has a revenue dashboard that will work with our old billing system, so we can roll back the layer on that and save some significant money. As far as the budget goes,
Nina, real quick, on the kiosk, those were paid with CARES Act funding, right?
yeah, it was $135,000.
Good find.
Yeah. We're going to have to dormant out some funds before the end of the year. Some of them, one's the Riverboat, Cable TV, EMB fund. Part of the budget process is determining the amount of healthcare costs for each department and shifting it into each department within the general fund or park or MVH. We are only collecting about $3.7 million in the EMB fund. It costs approximately $5.8 million for healthcare premiums, so it doesn't make sense to have the fund since we're not health insured anymore. And also a general IT operations budget to pull some of those costs out of department budgets. And then we did receive a few surprise bills. Evidently, we've been paying the Porter County Animal Shelter bill in arrears. It's a $38,000 bill, so I got that bill and I have no appropriation to pay it. I've been working with the city attorney on a delinquent tax bill that we received stemming from the purchase of Dombey Lake, and that's almost $56,000. And I got a friendly letter from the IRS, a $63,000 bill for the 2018 1095 Cs that were filed late. So if you take those into account with the additional surprise bills we got earlier this spring, that totaled $339,000, we're up to $496,796.62 in surprise bills.
And these are all bills from prior years.
Yeah.
And to clarify, the IRS surprise was still the gift that keeps on giving from prior years' failure to file the 1095Cs. So we currently have an appeal in front of the IRS for reimbursement of the one levy that we had to pay out and the 2 subsequent years for penalties. So we're still working on that, but frankly, they were so late, it makes it harder. With respect to the IRS, or the property tax issue, as Nina indicated, we're working on that, and that's a story that earlier on in the year, I had gone out and had several meetings with the county treasurer, county attorney, and I thought we'd worked that out and worked it through, so I want to make sure that all those numbers are correct from the agreement that we entered into. So it was an unusual thing, that situation.
On behalf of the council, I'd just like to recognize Clerk Treasurer Rivas's efforts. She has spent countless number of hours trying to get our financial situation straightened out. I think most of the community realizes now that we inherited a nightmare. I don't know another way to describe it, that required just hours and hours of trying to untangle and first figure out where we are financially, and then figure out and calculate errors that were made to get it straight. And Clerk Treasurer Rivas, along with the mayor's office and Mr. Witten, our attorney, have just had to spend, unfortunately, an ungodly number of hours to get this squared away. And I feel confident personally that we're getting on the right track, but tonight we're going to introduce a general obligation bond that hopefully is going to be a major step in solving our financial crisis that we inherited. So fortunately, this administration is taking the steps necessary to get this corrected and get the train back on the track. So, thank you, Clerk Treasurer Rivas. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Witten.
And
The budget
also
committee
our
is
budget chair, Debbie, she
Yeah.
has been faithfully putting in a lot of hours. I also want to mention that Nina, the Board of Works, approved a new contract that's going to be paid by the CARES Act money. And just to let you know that when Nina spends CARES Act money, she gets approval before she does the purchasing. So we are guaranteed that that will be paid for. We are going to be getting a new website. We will be having someone work on that for us, and that will be paid for out of the CARES Act. And then she's getting a new program called Civic Clerk, which is going to make her life so much easier. So going through a lot of changes. We're going to be having a new telephone system here shortly, within maybe the next 2.5 weeks. So we do have a department head meeting to review how the phone system is going to work, because it's going to be a new thing for us, but it's a tremendous cost saving. So all of these things that we're entering into that are paid for by CARES dollars up front are also huge savings to the city, which we desperately need right now. So thank you, Nina, for digging in and helping us get through this.
Thanks for taking my calls.
We get emails from Nina at 2 o'clock in the morning, so we know she's putting in a little overtime. So thank you again, Nina. Reports of city officials. We have fire here, and fire in their pink shirts. Nina and I have ours on. Dan?
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Dan.
Good to see you guys. Like the mayor says, we are in pink, so don't adjust your TV sets. This is our new norm for the next month. We do this every year for breast cancer awareness. We encourage everyone, all women, to get screened, educate themselves, and spread the word about breast cancer. In the last month, we trained on advanced care life support. Firefighter paramedic George Busey and I instructed that class. We had 10 employees graduate that. It's an 8-hour training. We also did training at the Garrettton School Building. We did ladder training, so you might have saw us. There's nothing wrong with the building. We went ahead and laddered the second story and practiced throwing ladders on that building. You may have seen the new 2020 Dodge Ram truck in service. It's our battalion chief's vehicle that we just put in service in the last few weeks. Thank you to Homeland Security, Indiana Homeland Security. Last week we trained for 3 days straight on the sim lab. They have real life mannequins that actually talk to you. Some of the mannequins range around $70,000 that IDHS takes around the state. With our classes, they provided the instructor, they put them up for the 3 days, so it was zero cost to the city to have this advanced level training, which was a respiratory, an OB, and a cardiac and trauma mannequin. Fire Prevention Week is on us, October 4th through 10th. This year's focus for National Fire Prevention Week is cooking safety. You'll see some stuff go up on our Facebook throughout the week about it. We also, due to COVID, we're not able to do our traditional seeing every child in the schools. Our Division Chief Kender has been working with some of our members, and we actually enlisted some help, and we've made videos, which the school is accepting and allowing to be put on as like an e-learning supplement to give children all the way K up to usually 5th grade the fire safety message through. And thank you to Chief Kender for he's been doing a ton of work between here and the MAC, filming. He's become such a prima donna over it. He's our new movie star over there. We're working on a NERPC grant for traffic light preemptive devices. The Chesterton Fire Department chiefs are taking lead on this. Lake County did a similar one last year. It would include Liberty Township, Porter, Burns Harbor, South Haven, and us. It is a 90-10 matching grant, which is huge because it's not just going to affect us. It's going to affect the police responses, wear and tear on our vehicles, wear and tear on the police vehicles. And I believe there's a contingent possibly on it too for even like street department. So when they're plowing, instead of the start and stopping and the stress of that on the plows and on the vehicles, they could do a continual push all the way down like Willow Creek or down 6, and it would give them preemptiveness. Now, there is ADA requirements with it. It's not a flip of a switch. It judges how far you're out, and I can answer more questions on it later or as we get closer to completing that grant. But it is a 90-10 match. And right now, a lot of the crews, and probably no police here, they're doing National Night Out downtown at Founders Square, I believe. So our crews are participating and helping our friends in blue. Our ISO rating is still a 3 for the city for the insurance service rating, but we are very, very close to a 2 and hope with some changes that we have for the future that it will get us to a 2 to lower insurance for homes and businesses. Any questions tonight for me?
No, I love that you wear pink in October.
Yes, it's growing on me. All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
We have Barb here from the marina. Do you have a report, Barb?
Yes, I do, Mayor. Kind of small one. Good evening, Mayor, City Council,
Evening,
Clerk
Barb.
Treasurer, Attorney Whitten.
Good evening, Barb.
Our marina season officially ends October 31st of this year. At that time, we will winterize all the water lines and drop the bubblers or the aerators into the waterway and into the marina. That'll keep the water moving so that we don't have a hard freeze throughout the marina, but when the weather does get below 0 for 5 or 6 days, there will be a hard freeze. The launch ramps do remain open throughout the year, but once again, if there's a hard freeze, then we have to close the launch ramps. The Port Authority Board has implemented a $2 per foot slip increase, so we're going from $63 a foot to $65 a foot. Our rates for the 2021 season will be posted on the city website. I already asked Norma to do that today. She said it's on her list. And we are taking reservations for the 2021 season. We have a waiting list now because fortunately the marina was totally full this year, which is a good sign. The deposits for the 2021 season are due by December 31st. So by mid-January, we pretty much know who's coming back and who's not. And after November 1st, somewhere around the first week of November, we'll post our off-season hours on our website and also on our Facebook page. We will be closing Saturday and Sunday, and we will be open Monday through Friday from 8:30 until 4:30. That's about all that I have to say. Anybody have any questions?
So Barb, you got your paving, did you get the paving done?
Yes, the paving is done. They did it in a day, and they did a wonderful job. I mean, it really looks nice, and now it kind of makes all those other areas in the marina look like they really need to be paved too. So as money allows, that paving project was around $27,000. But I don't think that we're going to have to actually pave the entire marina. There are a couple other areas that will need to be addressed in the next year or so.
And I did have a couple of people, and I know I've spoken to you about a kayak launch,
Yes.
because there's more kayakers now, especially with COVID. A lot of people, my whole family kayaks. So I know that they were out there recently, but they said they feel like they get in the way of the boaters.
Yes, and
And
that's,
so I did talk to the Port Authority about maybe having a separate kayak launch area.
yes, Mayor, that, the Paunica property would be a great opportunity for that. Because we'll have ample parking and it would be a lot more convenient for kayakers and canoers or, you know, whoever has a paddle boat that wants to go on the waterway. That location would be out of the way and they wouldn't be interfering with the boaters. But we do get a lot of kayakers that come into the marina, and I could see their point on a Saturday or Sunday when it's really busy, that they do kind of get in the way, and it can be kind of scary when you've got
Yeah.
people on jet skis and boats. But that'll be part of our plan with Avonmarsh to redo that Paunica property.
So is there a fee to launch your kayak, Barb?
We charge $10 for anybody that launches a boat, that uses the launch ramp area, I should say. So if you launch a kayak, you pay $10, even if you have 5 or 6 kayaks, you know, on a trailer. If you pull out, like if Marina Shores, they're emptying their marina this time of year and people are going into storage. So we charge them $10 as they pull out too.
Okay.
That keeps up, you know, we try to keep up with, you know, maintenance on the launch area.
Good.
Quick question, Barb. Where do we compare to other marinas on our slip fees? Are we under,
Way under.
over? Okay.
We're way under, way under. Marina Shores this year is going to be implementing a big increase, and they're also charging people, I think, $200 or $250 to use their restaurant and the club room that they have there. They're calling it a yacht club now. But when you compare Hammond, East Chicago, Michigan City, Marina Shores, we are one of the lowest. And we
But
felt
our-
at this time that we needed to do some sort of an
Right.
increase.
And usually our limitation is just bigger boats can't come into the marina, right?
Well, we've only got 20 slips that are available for like the 40-footers.
Right.
And we can do, on the far north side of K-Dock, we can do maybe 6 or 8 45-footers, but that's about it, you know, our capacity. And then anybody that's anywhere between, that's maybe has a fly bridge that's 21 feet, can't get under the
Can't
double
get under the
bridges.
bridge.
Yeah, so we've kind of, 214 slips, that's what we have.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barb.
Anything else? No?
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're doing a great job. Streets, Randy?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening,
Evening,
Randy.
Randy.
Emailed a report to you earlier, just to go through some of those numbers. About over 900 phone calls have come down to the street department. We had 1,100 drive-ins. Imagine all the vehicles that come and go and drop off yard waste and recycling and stuff like that. We've had 98 walk-ins to the office, 232 voice messages, 168 emails, 198 processed bulk items last month in September. We gave out 45 yard passes that were issued, and then last month we confiscated 85 recycling containers for violations of the recycling. So we continue to audit our routes and monitor those, and we do appreciate the residents that do keep to the policy. It is a much savings to the city and the taxpayers of Portage. So
Randy, on
yes.
the recycling toters, just for those that are watching, can you maybe explain why we're confiscating them?
we're confiscating because when we don't follow the policy, which is online, we've mailed out 15,000 mailers back in August, I believe it was. As long as you stick to the policy, the basic fives, plastic, tin, aluminum, cardboard, paper, nothing else. When other items are found that are not welcomed in the green lid toter, it contaminates the entire load. So what happens is
And
that-
not just
that-
in that toter, in the truck.
Yeah, in the truck. So when the truck is picking up recycling and they pick up a few contaminated recycling containers, it contaminates the entire load. And we take it to Republic Services, they inspect the load, they find those contaminants, and the entire truck is now labeled as trash. And it goes to the landfill, and it's rejected. So it's important that we stick with that policy and continue trying to get back on track. We continue to monitor all our routes. We can't check every toter, but we pick out this subdivision this week, and then we go to another one, we alternate, and try and get through the whole city. But that's gonna be that's gonna be a constant monitoring going future forward in the sanitation department. So, street department, we had a very successful road striping program this year. I gave you the miles of paint that we laid down. There was a little over 98 miles of paint we laid down through the city. So fog lines, the new yellow lines. Right now, we're finishing up Central. After that, we got a few other projects that we're doing throughout the city, and road striping will be completely done. And then it comes to leaf season. So I just posted it on social media, our most newest policy. I also forwarded to council, mayor, anyone that needs that policy, needs a copy of it, you could easily email that PDF that I just sent you. I also placed a video of leaf pickup on social media, so check that out. So, but that is it. Any questions?
No, I'd just like to make a comment that Mr. Reeder and his staff is doing his job when it comes to monitoring recycling. I walked out of my garage last week or the week and a half before, and I'm not here to embarrass Mr. Reeder, but I think it's important for me to say, and he was in front of my house. And he didn't realize he was just at an address. And I walked out, and he said, "Whoa, I didn't know this was your house." And I had an several items, and it was all the same item, in my recycling toter that I subsequently put in the trash toter, but it shouldn't have been there. And it was ignorance on my part. But his staff is doing his job without any bias, without any prior notification. Well, I'm not going to stop there because I'm sure Mr. Williams is doing it properly. So kudos to Mr. Reeder and his staff, because what he says in terms of monitoring in different areas of the city, they're doing it. And because of that, it's going to save us money down the road, that we don't get dirty recycling and get fined for that when it ends up in the landfill. So thank you for doing it.
Were you one of the 80 that they confiscated?
What's that?
Were you one of the 80 that they confiscated?
No, I was able to head that off.
We do make adjustments in the green toter. If we see that a resident is doing their job and trying to recycle, and there's a few items, we do have a form, and I usually take a picture, drop it off at the door, and just tell them, hey, going forward, correct it. But we don't confiscate every toter.
Right.
It's the severe ones.
That leads to
Mr.
my
Williams
question,
learned not
sir.
that his toter confiscated. I would.
Yeah, I'd have to answer to Mrs. Williams if I was missing a toter.
I'm sorry about that. Anyhow, so the number of toters that were confiscated, does that reflect the number of trucks that were deemed garbage after the review process by the recycling company, or do we have information on that?
No, that's before. So if I'm understanding your question right, can you rephrase that question?
So, 85, you said every time a toter is put into the truck that's contaminated, then the entire truck is then contaminated. And then,
Okay, so Republic Services has a goal of less than 20%. So they know it's not going to be 100% clean.
Yeah.
Right now, at our most recent audit at Republic Services, it was at around 40%. So right now, they take a random truck from City Portage, they dump it, they look at it, and they're pretty good down there. They'll go through it and somehow guess that 40%. So At the summertime, we were at about 50, so it's slowly cleaning up. Our most recent numbers did go up a little bit compared to last month. It was, I think it was 207 in August. In September, it was, I think, 240 tons, so it's going up. So people are getting it. I'm finding a lot less. Even though we're auditing more, we are finding a lot less, so.
Randy, I have a question. At Airport and Robbins, there's those arrows. Now, when you go through there at night, they kind of glow. You can see them, but during
Yes.
the daytime, they're pretty faded out. Are
Okay.
they on your striping to restripe those to
We could hit those again.
hit those arrows
there's
again? Because
time.
during the day, you can barely see them.
Okay. Yeah.
I just
we'll
don't want an
hit that.
accident there.
Yes. Okay. We can hit that intersection.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
What about, I have a question regarding the striping.
Yes.
The section of Dombey that was done this summer has not been striped. The
Okay.
north side of Dombey was, but the south has not.
I'll contact AJ's
Okay.
office. The contractor should do that. It's
Okay.
the new section. We're talking the new asphalt
Correct.
section? Yes.
Okay,
They should be completing those
thank you.
as part of the project there, so.
Big job, Randy. Thank you.
Yeah, great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief Candiano.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Okay, get my notes here. All right, so for the month of September, we had 2,728 calls for service. I was just curious, I looked this up from last year, 6 more calls than last year, so pretty consistent. Breaks down to about 91 calls per day. I want to say last month we were at like 98 or 99 calls per day, so it's starting to slow down a little bit, which is generally what it does as the weather turns and we get out of summer. So I was looking through the types of calls. I think I sent I sent it all out to you guys. Nothing really that jumps out at me in any of that other than the mental health calls are still up. I think that people have just really struggled with this year. Been a tough year with all the different things that have come with it. So we are definitely still seeing a lot of issues with those types of calls. So some good news, we released one of our rookies today. We called him over to our national night out that we were having and let him know that he was getting released. So his final day of being with a training officer, I think they had a DUI and some other stuff, and he ended up staying after about 3 hours, so it's a good way to send him out. But so he is the last one that we had that was going through the FTO program currently, so he was released today. We've still got one in the academy. I believe he's going to be through there sometime mid-November, and then we will have another one that needs to go to the academy in January, and he'll be starting his field training here coming up. So we talked, I think the last meeting, about our hiring process. We ended up getting 83 apps in, 22 showed up for the test, and 18 moved on through the physical agility and the written test. So it's going through our detective bureau now on the next stage, the backgrounds and all those things. So see what we get out of there, but it looks like we'll have some decent candidates coming out from what I've seen. So pretty excited about that. So I mentioned National Night Out. We did have that tonight from, or should be just finishing up now. We had it from 4 to 7 over at Founders Square. Participated, the fire department came out with us. Had a bunch of our equipment out there, had our canines out, some of our SWAT officers. It was a decent turnout. You know, it's been delayed a couple times because of COVID. Like everything else, crowds are weird this year as far as turnout. So it was a little less than usual, but we still had a decent amount out, and it was nice to be able to be out there and interact with the community a little bit. So anyway, we're just finishing that up right now. So I know I saw some of you out there, so thanks for coming out. And now for some pretty good stuff. So we had a robbery earlier this month at one of our hotels, and thanks to Facebook and putting stuff out, we were able to identify that subject, and our detective bureau was able to work that case, and we have solved one of our robberies. So pretty excited about that. Actually, last Friday was a good day for us. We also had a pursuit that ended up with a burglary suspect. So that same day we solved the robbery, we had this burglary that was solved. So as we've been working through this case, they're still working on it today, but we've learned that there's multiple burglaries this person committed, and in all different cities. We had detectives from other departments in today talking about it. So pretty excited about that because there were multiple crimes that were committed in our city, and it sounds like just the whole area. So this was another one. We put out a description on Facebook, a vehicle description. A citizen happened to see it, called it in. One of our officers happened to see it go past, and that's how it went down. So really excited to solve your burglaries, your robberies, some of your higher level crimes. We were able to solve 2 of them basically in the same day. So, and then we also had a rash of theft from vehicles. We got a call. Somebody happened to be up, saw somebody in a car next door. We ended up tracking them down a couple of neighborhoods over and solved a bunch of thefts from vehicles from that night. Unfortunately, again, most of these people that are committing these crimes are not from here. Some from Illinois, some from South Bend, some from other areas. So this is something we keep combating as people coming into our city to commit crimes. So, but I'm excited that we were able to solve some of those. And then the last thing I want to talk about, we had 4 officers that had a 30-year anniversary this year on the department. So I want to recognize them. Sergeant Lisa Duncan, Sergeant Dave Zilli, Lieutenant Phil Garzella, and Sergeant Dave Prickett. So 30 years is a long time to be doing this job, so I want to recognize them for getting that 30 years in. And they're all they're still out there doing it. So that's all I got tonight.
Kudos to them.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Nothing else?
Thank you, Mike.
All right.
I wanted to say thank you to both the police department and the fire department for today's event. It was perfect weather, but I wish just could have videotaped the kids' expressions, watching the kids coming up to all of the setups both of you guys had. That was priceless. It was cool. So thank you.
Just as I was leaving, there was a group of a family that showed up with 3 kids, and they were all dressed in like SWAT gear. They were probably all under the age of 10, and they were so excited, running back and forth. And sirens started. They figured out where the siren and air horn were at on a couple of things, and so. But that's the kind of stuff that makes it fun. So
that was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
All right, thank you.
Thanks so much, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
So I know this person isn't one of our city officials, but she is here tonight, and that's our school superintendent, Dr. Elenez. Did you want to say anything, Dr. Elenez?
Oh, I was here back there.
I'm not sure everybody knows you, but she's a dear friend and a great partner in the things that we're doing together. And it's just such a pleasure to be able to work with her. Anytime there's an issue, we just call each other up on the phone and say, we need to talk about something. And I love that.
It is a great partnership, which is exactly why I wanted to come out this evening, is just to, as a Portage resident, be involved in the city and show my support. We are very excited. October 20th, we welcome our students back to in-person instruction for those who opted to return in person. We have been working in close alignment with our families. We've also been providing wireless hotspots for those families who need Wi-Fi service, and we'll continue to do that. We've seen a great response from our families as far as the engagement level of their students. There's so much live instruction beyond even what was expected of our teachers. They have really enjoyed interacting with the kids live, and our kids have responded extremely well. I could not say enough about our team in the custodial department, maintenance department, our instructional aides. They are providing so much remediation to our students in small groups virtually as well. It was a huge learning curve, but I think everyone did a great job with it. Just today, I happened to catch Mrs. Riley, Mayor Lynch's daughter, completing one of the activities for the Media Center at Chrisman, and also talking about the Light Up the Gorge. So the kids were very excited about that, and many of our schools are going to be participating. Just to share with you as well, we're excited at this current time. The USDA has approved that meals for all children will be free through December of 2020. However, also the USDA is currently considering, and it has already been signed off by the president, continuing meals free of charge for children through the end of the school year. So that would be breakfast and lunch. And Mayor Lynch knows that this is very dear to my heart, making sure our kids are fed. So even our students who are virtual, they will still be able to pick up their 10 meals a week on Mondays at the school building. And of course, in the event that they cannot come, we will absolutely be delivering those meals so our students have the nourishments for their body so that they can learn. I can't thank the city enough for your continued partnership and support for our schools. I assure you that we couldn't do this without the city and the township, and just thank you so much for all that you do for all of us.
Thank you for doing a great job for our kids, Amanda. We are very lucky to have Amanda running our school system. It's a big job. When I sit with her and I hear all the things that she's got on her plate, it's amazing. You're doing a great job, and we're just happy to have you and feel very blessed.
Thank you. It takes us all, and I appreciate everyone.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you, Amanda.
We have reports of standing committees.
The ordinance committee met before our meeting tonight. We'll have the 2 ordinances that we met on tonight's agenda to go through, so we'll go through those later.
Okay. Deb, do you have anything on budget?
I'm going to wait until we get to the
Okay.
announcement.
Okay, then we'll move on. We have no unfinished business. We will move to new business. Petition to vacate public right-of-way application. Did everybody get to see that?
I think, Mayor, it's in the best interest of the council to consider tabling this vacation request of this property until the attorney can look into it a little bit further. I had a short conversation with him in regard to this, so I make a motion to table this request for vacating this public right-of-way till application till next month.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
So Nina, this does tell me that Kurt had looked at this and gave it a favorable recommendation. I just have a couple of follow-up questions. It's a little confusing the way this application is written.
He should be here.
Yeah, and I was hoping that the gentleman would be here to
His name's Evan.
explain it, because it reads odd. So I really need to get some more clarification before I can advise.
Makes sense?
Is Evan, are you still here?
Okay.
Oh.
So if we're going to hear this, I guess I would suggest to take the motion off the table, with the motion to table off the floor.
Yeah, I'll rescind my main motion to table this vacation request. So we need to rescind the second?
It goes.
Second,
Okay.
right, rescind the second.
So I know that Kurt Knutson had recommended favorably on this. I have some questions because it's not really clear to me. First of all, I was having some difficulty in reading it on the petition, but it almost sounded like you were indicating that you thought you owned it, but you don't think you do.
The prior owner
And-
that we bought the house from
Yeah.
had told us that he had been in the process of trying to acquire it, and that was all that was said, so that's why I was trying to find out what was going on with it.
So we're really just, because it almost sounded to me like it's not your typical application for a municipality to vacate public property. It was more of a, what's going on with this property and who owns it and how can I get this figured out kind of request. That's how I read it anyway. So I don't know the answers to those questions, but I surely would like to know more detail.
Okay.
Kurt said it was an awkward shaped parcel,
Yeah, it is.
and that he just said the city would never
So,
have the need.
but does the city own it, or is it a right-of-way over his property? I guess that's the question I would have.
To
Who
my-
owns
Yeah,
the
To my
parcel?
understanding, it
next
was
to
the
my
right of way.
property.
Okay.
So I'm going to go back to my suggestion to table it, because I do think that there's just a couple, it doesn't, the legal description isn't really clear, and I really want to find out the ownership, and I really want to find out the impact, and then I would like to come back and give my thoughts to the council. Because it sounds like we've just got a few questions we have to iron out, you
Yeah.
know.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Elton.
So do we need, I'll make a motion to table.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Temporary loan resolution 20-21.
Colin, would you take that, please?
Sure. Resolution 20-21, a resolution authorizing temporary interfund loans, whereas the following temporary interfund loans are necessary for the purpose of maintaining cash operating balances in the funds herein named. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Portage, Indiana, that the clerk treasurer is hereby authorized to make the following temporary loans, such loans to be secured by a pledge of revenues to be received which are not otherwise allocated and to be repaid on or before December 31st, 2020. I'll read through these. Date, January 31st, 2020. From cable TV to CLPD, $250,000. January 31st, 2020. From cable TV to CCD, $150,000. January 31st, from EDIT to police pension, $100,000. February 27th, RDC allocation area to RDC general, $50,000. March 30th, general to fire pension, $180,000. March 30th, general to police pension, $200,000. April 30th, EDIT to NVH, $250,000. June 29th, Parks and Recreation non-reverting impact fee to Parks and Recreation non-reverting operating, $50,000. June 29th, municipal wheel surtax to municipal wheel tax, $350,000. July 31st, EDIT to general, $1 million. August 31st, EDIT to MVH, $500,000. And September 30th, cable TV to general, $359,284.79. Let the record reflect this has been read in full. Motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
These are just standard interfund loans, right? Nothing special.
Yeah, moving forward, though, you can see that they're older dates.
Right.
It's been a past practice of the office to do it and ask later. That's not going to be the case anymore. It needs to be done and approved by the council in advance of the transfer, so.
So going forward, we'll
tempo.
probably see these monthly, right?
If it needs to be, but my goal would be to have, the cash flows forecasted and know well in advance.
And not have to do these.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Transfer resolution 20-22.
Colin, would you take that, please?
Resolution 20-22, resolution to approve transfer of funds for the general fund, whereas the Portage Common Council may by resolution approve the transfer of money from one fund to another in need of money for cash flow purposes, whereas the Portage Common Council does find that funds are available, the transfer is necessary to cover expenses, and that the transfers be made by proper resolution at a regular public meeting of the Portage Common Council, and whereas this transaction is not an additional appropriation and a public hearing is not required, and whereas the Portage General Fund number 101 is in need of money to pay expenses of the City of Portage, and whereas the Portage Cumulative Capital Improvement Fund number 401 has in excess of $96,000 and no cents, which can be used by the Portage General Fund to pay city expenses. Now be it resolved, the Common Council of the City of Portage authorizes the following transfer. Transfer from Fund 401 Cumulative Capital Improvement, $96,000, to Fund 101 Portage General Fund, $96,000. Let the record reflect this has been read in full. Motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We have a transfer resolution 20, no,
We just did that.
I just did that, sorry. First reading salary ordinance amendment.
I'll take that. This is an ordinance amending the 2020 salary ordinance of the City of Portage. Be it, and it hereby is ordained by the Common Council of the City of Portage, Indiana as follows. Section 1, Ordinance Amendment. The section entitled Administrative Positions of the 2020 Salary Ordinance currently written shall hereby be amended to add the following. This is a position in the Planning and Community Development Department, and it involves the GIS specialist, with a maximum salary of $62,500. And this salary will be reimbursed wages through both stormwater and RDC, 51,000 stormwater and 11,500 in RDC. We'll let the record reflect that this ordinance has been introduced on a first reading.
And I just want to add that this person is currently doing GIS for the whole city, but moving him over, I think he will be better served. He will serve as our landscape architect and our design leader, and he will also help us with updating our downtown plan, our pathways plan, and our comprehensive plan. So he's going to be doing a little bit more for us, ergo the increase in his salary.
And we're moving this back to where it should have been.
Yes.
Previously, it was just moved to, where was it, stormwater, sanitary? Yeah.
So can you stand to there to vote on that? They can do just a first reading.
Are we going to suspend the rules and pass it tonight, or do you want to?
I mean, I'll make a motion to suspend if the council wants
I'll
to
second
do
that.
that. We can do that. If not, it'll just go to November.
I'd
Was that
like
a
to move
motion?
him over as soon as possible.
Well, I'll make a motion to suspend then.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to suspend. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Second reading now.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt. Is there any questions, any further discussion?
No, I just want to thank you for bringing this to the council before you just went ahead and did it. Other
Yeah.
previous administrations would have just gone ahead and done it.
No.
So thank you for bringing this to the council ahead of time.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We have ordinance 20-11, general obligation bond, first reading.
Brian.
Ordinance number 20-11, an ordinance of the City of Portage, Indiana, authorizing the issuance and sale of bonds of the city for the purpose of providing funds to be used for the cost of refunding certain outstanding obligations, including the redemption of existing leases and funding the cost or reimbursement of certain capital expenditures of the city, together with all necessary appropriatences?
Yeah.
All right. Related improvements and equipment in connection therewith. Whereas the City of Portage, Indiana is authorized by IC 36-4-6-19 in effect on the date of the issuance of the bond authorized herein, the issue of bonds to procure monies to be used for the exercise of powers of the city and for the payment of city debts. And whereas the Common Council of the city now determines that it is necessary and a proper exercise of the powers of the city to finance the costs of funding, the refunding of certain outstanding equipment lease agreements, costs of certain capital expenditures of the city, or reimbursement for costs of certain capital expenditures of the city in connection therewith. And whereas the outstanding obligations are by their terms subject to the redemption prior to their scheduled maturity dates. Whereas based on the advice of consultants of the city on the projects, the council has determined that the estimated costs of the projects and the incidental expenditures necessary to be incurred in connection therewith and with the issuance of the bonds to finance the projects will be in an amount not to exceed $5,350,000. Let the record reflect that this has been read in its entirety. Motion to suspend.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to suspend. Are there any questions? Nina, please call the roll.
Councilperson Alvarez?
Yes?
Councilperson Podgorski?
Yes.
Councilperson Geishurst?
Yes.
Councilperson Williams?
Yes.
Councilperson Gully?
Yes.
Councilperson Zilli?
Yes.
Now, if they want,
Second reading.
okay, now we will go into the second reading.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Second. We have a motion and a second to adopt. Any questions? If not, Nina, please call the roll.
Councilperson Zilli?
Yes.
Councilperson Gully?
Yes.
Councilperson Williams?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I hear
You're going in a
Williams
different
today.
order.
I
and
did
it
it,
threw all of us off.
I threw you off. Councilperson Geishurst?
Yes.
Councilperson Podgorski?
Yes.
Councilperson Alvarez?
Yes.
Thank you. General obligation bond, additional appropriations.
Brian.
Ordinance number 20-12, an ordinance of the City of Portage appropriating the proceeds of its general obligation bond. Whereas the Common Council of the City of Portage, Indiana has determined to issue bonds to provide the costs of refunding certain outstanding obligations, including the redemption of existing leases and the funding of cost or reimbursement of certain capital expenditures of the city, and the incidental expenditures in connection therewith, and on account of the issuance of its taxable general obligation bonds of 2020. And whereas a notice of a public hearing for the appropriation of the proceeds of the bond in an amount not to exceed $5,350,000 to be issued for the purpose of procuring funds to be applied on the costs of the projects and the incidental expenditures to be incurred in connection therewith, with the issuance and sale of the bonds, was properly published with proof of publication, was presented to the Common Council and placed on the city's records. Now therefore be it ordained by the Common Council of the City of Portage, Indiana, that an appropriation in an amount not to exceed $5,350,000 is hereby made to be applied on the cost of the projects and the incidental expenditures incurred in connection therewith, and an account on the issuance of the bonds, therefore, and that the funds to meet said appropriation be provided out of the proceeds of the bonds in an amount not to exceed $5,350,000. Therefore, authorize and said appropriation to be in addition to all other appropriations provided in the existing budget and tax levy for the current year. The city clerk is hereby authorized and directed to report and clarify the additional appropriation to the Department of Local Government Finance. The ordinance shall be in full force and effect from the passage and approval by the mayor. Let the record reflect that this has been read in its entirety.
And this is a first reading.
Yeah.
So we don't do anything else.
No.
Okay.
Public. Can we ask questions?
Sure.
I guess my question is not more of a question, it's Nina. Can you provide just an explanation of why we're moving this process forward?
If you want a really honest answer,
Yes.
Yes.
we started this year with the general fund having about $11,009. Our MVH had 64 cents, our cable TV had 94 cents. Until we got our tax anticipation loan from the bond bank, and then we got that on January 30th, we couldn't pay bills. I mean, we were able to make payroll, but that was going to be about it.
Right.
So this is going back and refunding capital purchases that could have been paid with the debt service, bonded for then. It's going to free up about $980,000 out of edit that currently pays capital lease purchases.
Thank you.
Yeah, and not to mention it helps bridge the gap. The DLGF had cut our budget, the 2020 budget, almost 2.2 million, the general fund, because of, it was an unfunded budget, and also the MVH about 460,000. So it'll be an influx of cash. It'll free up some operating cash too. And then in addition to that, we can have an operational elevator in City Hall.
It's been 5 years, 6 years. Yeah. I guess, so I'm asking another question here. In the past, looking at the numbers, has the city ever ended the year with those low of a balance in the general fund and MVH?
No, it had never issued as large of a tax anticipation warrant from the bond bank either. I had spoke with one municipal advisor, and he couldn't even believe that they approved it.
Neither could we when they approved it. I mean, I think we got put in a place where the Board of Works last year was approving claims, and we just had no money to pay these claims. And it left us at the end of the year, $11,000 in the general fund.
And $500,000 to pick up this year.
Right, from bills from last year. So the fact that we had to go with the general obligation bond, I mean, it's really to pay back bills for things that have already been incurred.
Right, it's refunding.
Right.
Capital purchases date going back to 2017.
And I think one of the other things, Colin, is that Nina is trying to look at our budget differently. I know that Deb and Nina and I have talked many times, and Deb has of looking at things that need to be in the budget that
Right.
are not budgeted for, and then you get to the end of the year and you're robbing from Peter to pay Paul, and now it's caught up with us, and we need to stop doing that. It's time to manage our budget properly.
Mm-hmm. And I want to commend the clerk treasurer, the mayor, the budget committee, the Board of Works for looking at these claims when they're coming to them and not just approving things willy-nilly. They're getting they're getting what they're supposed to be getting now from the clerk treasurer's office and the mayor's office, and they're not paying unbudgeted claims any longer. They're paying what they're supposed to be paying, and they're not being given $1 million bills for road projects that are $400,000 over budget for money that we didn't have. So I want to commend the mayor and the clerk treasurer and the budget committee for
Yeah, and it's
putting in
not-
a lot of time on this.
It's not a fix-all. I mean, we are going to still have to go for a tax anticipation warrant. It's not
Right.
going to, it's not going to bridge the gap fully at all. I mean, it'll improve, but it just takes time because we only get so much money. And in the tax, we still feel the impact of the tax caps. Those weren't accounted for in the past too. That was a combination of the problem, a comedy of errors that caught up with us for the 2020 budget. But it'll get better.
I'm confident it will.
I think the community needs to know as well as some of our revenue sources, sales tax, the gasoline tax, which supports MVH, riverboat money. All that revenue sources are down from where we were in the past. So the reality is we don't have as much money to work with out of those funds to finance the operating costs of the city. So it's absolutely necessary to do this general obligation bond to shore up some of those revenue sources that we always count on very heavily.
On that
I
note,
think the other thing that people don't understand is like during this COVID, people didn't drive their cars.
Well, that's my point.
Every time you put gas in your car, we get a portion of that money. And we have been told that it could be 35 to 45% less that we get for motor vehicle highway and local roads and streets. So, but we don't know that. We don't know that until it's allocated to us. So we're kind of like walking in the dark here, and we've been cautioned by our financial people that it could be even worse next year. We just don't know. The COVID has impacted every city in our state. So we're trying to get ahead of this now rather than get behind the 8 ball any farther than we are.
And that's why it's important too to free up the edit funds too, because that's a rolling average and it takes, I don't think we'll feel the impact of that till 2023.
Mayor, I know that you're in constant communication with the governor's office, weekly emails from them. Has there been any indication that the state is going to step in to help plug that gap in gas tax funding? I mean, this is affecting
No,
every
they
city.
haven't.
Every city is being affected by
They
this.
haven't talked about that at all. I mean, I'm still trying to get an extension of the CARES Act money.
Right.
Because the CARES Act money ends on December 31st. So if we haven't completed the project and spent the money by then, it goes back. So Nina has worked feverishly, I mean, seriously, in finding ways that we could utilize that money. And, you know, she's making sure that it's approved before we even move forward with that expenditure, because one of the things that we don't want to do is purchase something only to find out that the CARES Act money doesn't pay for it, and we have to figure out where the money is coming from. Those days are gone here. We're not spending money we don't have. So she gets those approvals before we even move forward with that project. So, but when I did talk to the governor's office the other day, he said that I needed to reach out to the feds now and talk to them about extending that timeline, but also expanding some of the parameters, because I think cities and towns were not sure what they could spend the money on. So early on, I think Nina was struggling and reaching out to people of like, what can we spend this on, what can't we? And now people are starting to understand how you can use this money, but now it's kind of getting at the end. So we need to have that deadline extended, because of the $300 million that the state got. They said that 80% of that could be returned because people didn't know what to do with it. So my push to the governor's office is to say, please extend this deadline, but I do need the federal government's support on that too.
And I think with them expanding the parameters the last time, we're able to recoup interest that we accrued from the mid-year advance funding bond that we did.
That's nice.
And we're going to able to recoup paid sick time for the Families First.
Yes.
And then a lot of the first responder payroll too. So I think by sending the certified payrolls and that information, we'll be able to capture all of it.
But that's because you've been on top of that, and other cities and towns just haven't. But Nina has been dogging that, trying to make sure that we got every bit of that, almost 1.2 million, because if not, it would have been returned.
And that money, so
opportunity.
when we get money back from a certain department, that money goes back to the department, right?
And it's a good turnaround time when she turns that in. It's just it's what, a couple of weeks, Nina?
Yeah, depending on the timing, they do wire transfers every week. So depending on when you get it in, they process it relatively quick.
Definitely been a challenge.
We had even gotten pre-approval for the fire department too, for the fit tester masks equipment, for the mask outfit, or that can accommodate the N95s.
Yeah. So, okay. We have not, are there any more questions on the bond?
So we'll take this up,
At the
At the-
October 20th.
okay, at the special
We
meeting.
have
now-
another meeting October the 20th.
For the budget adoption, and then also, so this now we'll advertise for the additional appropriations, because we have to appropriate the proceeds.
Right.
And also with the transfer for the 96,000 from CCI to the general fund, you're able to transfer it, but then you need an additional to put it in someone's budget unless it's just a shortfall.
Got it.
So community development needs it.
So speaking of budget, the next item is ordinance 2013, the 2021 budget.
Deb, would you take that, please?
Yes. Notice to taxpayers. The notice to taxpayers is available online at www.budgetnotices.in.gov or by calling 888-739-9826. Complete details of budget estimates by fund and/or department may be seen by visiting the office of this unit of government at 2100 Willow Creek Road. Notice is hereby given to taxpayers of Portage Civil City, Porter County, Indiana, that the proper officers of Portage Civil City will conduct a public hearing on the year 2021 budget. Following this meeting, any 10 or more taxpayers may object to a budget, tax rate, or tax levy by filing an objection petition with the proper officers of Portage Civil City, not more than 7 days after the hearing. The objection petition must identify the provisions of the budget, tax rate, or tax levy to which taxpayers object, if a petition is filed. Portage Civil City shall adopt with the budget a finding concerning the objections in the petition and testimony presented. Following the aforementioned hearing, the proper officers of Portage Civil City will meet to adopt the following budget. Public hearing date, Tuesday, October 6, 2020. Public hearing time, 6:30 p.m. Public hearing location, 2100 Willow Creek Road. Estimated civil max levy, $18,856,335. Property tax cap credit estimate, $2,478,040. Adoption meeting, Tuesday, October 20th, 2020. Adoption meeting time, 6:30 p.m. Adoption meeting location, 2100 Willow Creek Road. Do I need to read the estimate numbers? That's the only thing I wasn't sure.
It's up to you. Just the
No?
whole amount.
I mean, they're just placeholders, right?
You don't
Right.
have
The final
to.
numbers will be on
Okay,
at the
so let this reflect it's been read in its entirety.
Now that's a reading, right? We don't have to.
Can I just add, just to reiterate what everyone else has been saying, this has been the most challenging budget I certainly have ever dealt with, and I've dealt with many over the course of my own career. Nina, myself, the mayor, we have spent many hours together trying to get this together. It's been a challenge, but in the long run, the city will be better for it. Yeah, we will be better for it. It'll be better for the taxpayers, our city as a whole, and Nina has definitely been killing herself getting things straightened out that should have taken place long before now.
Are there any other questions by the council? Okay, this will be taken back up on the 20th of October. Okay, we have ordinance 2009, donated major illness days.
Gina, would you take that, please?
Sure. Ordinance number 20-09, an ordinance of the City of Portage amending section 62-31F of the City of Portage Municipal Code. Be it, and it is hereby ordained by the Common Council of the City of Portage, Indiana, as followed. Ordinance amendment of section 62-31F. Section 6231F shall be amended by deleting this section in its entirety and replacing it with the following. All bargaining unit and non-bargaining unit employees may donate accumulated leave under this section to other full-time employees. Employees may donate a maximum of 5 major illness days per year. Employees may receive a maximum of 60 donated major illness per year. To be eligible to receive and use a donation of major illness time, the receiving employee must have exhausted all of his or her accumulated major illness leave, vacation time, and any other available paid time off. Donated leave may be used by receiving employees solely for the care of a terminally ill dependent of the receiving employee, or for that receiving employee's own life-threatening or terminal illness. Conflicting ordinances. Any ordinance or provision of any ordinance in the City of Portage in conflict with the provisions of this ordinance is hereby repealed. Severability. Invalidity of this section, clause, sentence, or provision of this ordinance shall not affect the validity of any other part of this ordinance which can be given effect without such invalid part or parts. Effective date. This ordinance shall be in full force, the effect after its passage, approval by the mayor of the City of Portage, and publication as required by law. Passed and adopted by the Common Council of the City of Portage on this day.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Dan, is that all? Have you read through this and we're good? Okay.
We're fine, Mayor.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We have an ordinance 2010 golf cart usage. I hate talking through this mask, everyone.
Ferdinand, would you take that, please?
Yes, sir. Ordinance 20-10 golf cart usage, and ordinance amending municipal code to the City of Portage. Be it and hereby is ordained by the Common Council of the City of Portage, Indiana, as follows. Whereas the council desires to amend the municipal code to include a section governing the use of golf carts within the city limits, and Section 1, that the Portage Municipal Code shall be amended to include the following. Chapter 78, Section 165, under golf carts. Section A. For the purpose of this section, the term golf cart means a four-wheeled motor vehicle originally and specifically designed and intended to transport one or more individuals and golf clubs for the purpose of playing a game of golf on a golf course. The state reference to that is Indiana Code 9-13-2-69-7. Section B, the term vehicle under this article shall include golf carts. Section C, except as hereinafter otherwise provided, the operation or parking of golf carts as defined herein, whether powered by battery, fuel engine, or otherwise, and commonly referred to as golf carts, shall only be operated upon City of Portage's residential roads, streets and thoroughfares, and shall not be permitted on major thoroughfares or highways, and shall be prohibited except insofar as such golf carts are registered, equipped, and operated in full compliance with the following. Number 1, the owners or lessees of golf carts must register each golf cart with the police department of the city of Portage. Number 2, when registering the golf cart, the owner shall obtain a golf cart use and parking permit, which shall be prominently attached to and displayed on the upper left rear of the golf cart. Number 3, the annual fee for the golf cart permit stickers shall be $25, renewable every year, payable at the City of Portage, Indiana Police Department. This fee shall be dedicated for use by the police department, and the clerk treasurer shall deposit the proceeds in a police department fund. Section D, the owner of a golf cart requesting a vehicle permit under this section of the code shall, at the time of the application and prior to the issuance of the permit, provide and/or certify to the following. Number 1, proof of liability insurance coverage for injuries arising from the use of the golf cart in an amount of $25,000 or more. Additionally, proof of such liability coverage must be available on the cart or carried by the operator at all times the golf cart is operated on the roads, streets, or thoroughfares of the City of Portage. Number 2, certify that the golf cart shall only be operated by a licensed driver or by any person 16 years or older with a valid state identification card on their person while operating the golf cart and while in the presence of a licensed driver over the age of 18. Owner shall execute with a written certification that the owner will ensure compliance with this section of the ordinance. Number 3, certify that the operator of the golf cart will observe all traffic laws applicable to the operation of a motor vehicle. Number 4, certify that the golf cart has been equipped with a rear view mirror, brakes, a slow-moving vehicle sign affixed to the back of the golf cart. All golf carts shall be equipped with headlamps, a horn, and tail lamps visible from a distance of 500 feet. And that's in reference to State Indiana Code 9-21-1-3. Section E, enforcement. The police chief or his or her respective designees are authorized to enforce the terms and provisions of this ordinance. Section F, seasonal time and weather limitations. Golf carts shall only be operated between March 1st and November 30th. Golf carts shall only be operated between sunrise and sunset. Golf carts may not operate regardless of date when there is 1 inch or more of snow accumulation. Section G, penalties. The first violation of this section shall subject the owner and/or operator of the golf cart to a fine of $100. A second violation of this section shall subject the owner and/or operator of the golf cart to a fine of $150. A third violation of this section shall subject the owner and/or operator of the golf cart to a fine of $200 and revocation of their operating permit for a term of 1 year from the date of the third violation. Section 2, conflicting ordinances. Any ordinance or provision of any ordinance of the City of Portage in conflict with this ordinance is hereby repealed. Section 3, severability. The invalidity of any section, clause, sentence, or provision of this ordinance shall not affect the validity of any other part of this ordinance which can be given effect without such invalid part or parts. Section 4, effective date. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect after its passage and approval by the mayor of the City of Portage and publication as required by law, and after January 1st, 2021. Let the record show that the ordinance has been read in its entirety.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any questions?
I'm sorry, I have a quick question. Do we have to put in there that they're bound by all of the traffic laws of a motor vehicle?
Yes, that's in there.
Is it in there? I may
Yeah,
have missed
it's,
it. Okay. I may have missed it.
Where is it?
Yeah, it was.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, it's one of those
Number
certifications.
3
Yeah, number 3 under section D,
Yeah.
that they'll observe all traffic laws applicable to the
Okay.
operation of a motor
That's all I
vehicle.
needed. I
Yep.
just wanted to make sure.
So did that mean they can be ticketed by the police?
Correct.
And the police have a fee structure for these tickets, or is there?
So my understanding, Dan, is that they could, A, be ticketed, B, they can be ticketed and fined under this ordinance.
So my suggestion would be to cite them under the ordinance.
Okay.
And
I can
towed,
get people raising
right?
their hands up.
Yeah,
Well, I
have
guess
a
it would
question.
depend, like, so, for example,
Can they be towed
if,
if it's outside of the parameters of where they can be?
right, like, say they're operating while intoxicated, they could be charged with an OWI,
Well, yeah, then you can take.
and
Impound it.
they would also be subject to
Impounded.
the fees of this ordinance, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
So
And
Where-
I think Gina has a question. Go ahead.
Thank you. Where will it be documented as to what roads they can or cannot be on with the golf carts?
From the ordinance committee, our discussions with Ted Uzelak was that they'll provide a packet to those who are applying for a permit with excluded roads. They'll be provided a list. Basically, the hard and fast rule that I was told is if a road has road striping, it is not a residential street. So Willow Creek, Central, Portage Avenue, Hamstrom, those are not residential streets. But if they don't have road striping, so Hamstrom south of Central, for example, is a residential street, but north of Central is not a residential street. So this would prevent golf carts from being on Willow Creek, Central, Dombey, Old Porter, Portage Avenue. They would be restricted to neighborhoods in residential roads.
So they would be provided that packet when they get their permit?
In our discussions at the ordinance committee with Ted, that is correct, yes. They'll be provided that, they'll be provided, here's the things that you are certifying to. When you sign this, you're certifying to all of the things in the ordinance. You'll provide your proof of liability insurance. Usually that's part of your auto insurance, unless you have a secondary liability insurance that you purchase, or it's part of your homeowners. Yeah, we went through this with Ted and Dan and Stacy at ordinance committee and really changed. We added a lot to this ordinance from where it started to put a lot of safeguards in place.
So the chief is here. Do you think, does he have any questions? Chief Candiano, do you have any questions?
No, I think Assistant Chief Uzelak was involved in all the
Okay.
discussions, and he was pretty happy with everything that was in it from that point. So
Okay.
I don't think anything's changed since the discussion that he was involved in. So
Okay.
Correct.
And we have to make sure.
Now, I know there were some people in the audience that had questions, so if you would like to come up to the mic and give us your name and where you live and whatever concerns or questions you have. Anybody that would like to come to the mic and speak?
On this issue. Said on this issue.
Good evening. I just want to know, these golf cart owners, are they going to be required to have seat belts?
Sir, would you please state your name and your address?
Martin E. Riley, R-I-L-E-Y, 5215, one word, Brookline, B-R-O-O-K-L-I-N-E Drive.
Well, the answer, in the existing ordinance, no, seatbelts are not required. We did talk about this at the ordinance committee, And we looked at other cities and towns, what they have. They don't require seatbelts. A lot of golf carts don't have seatbelts to begin with. And we didn't want to be so restrictive that we are really limiting what can be on the roads. We felt that these golf carts staying on residential streets only within neighborhoods, seatbelts would not be a requirement, as the speed limit is already 25 miles per hour. If we allowed them on major roads, Willow Creek Central, I would absolutely say that we should consider having seatbelts required, but this current ordinance does not.
All right, that's all I wanted then. Is there any way I can get a copy of the rules and stuff about the golf carts?
Absolutely, they'll be on the city website. The clerk treasurer's office can provide that as well.
My opinion is golf carts belong on golf courses, not even on residential streets. Children, I mean, they're on their bikes and stuff. You have to be very careful and stuff, and especially in my neighborhood, stop signs, I'm talking about people driving cars. They think STOP means start taking off pants, not stopping. So, but our police force are doing a great job. They can't be everywhere, you know. So that's why I came here, mainly because of the golf carts.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Marty.
Mayor, if I can just add a comment from the ordinance committee. In speaking with Assistant Chief Uzelak, one of the reasons that this was something that he was asking from the council is currently golf carts are prohibited, but people are already operating them on the streets, regardless of them being prohibited. This ordinance now puts restrictions in place that they can point to. It says you can operate it, but you are going to register with the city. The city's going to know that you have a golf cart, that it is equipped with everything that we say, that you have liability insurance. So his thought process was, by asking golf cart users to register with the city, we can verify all of these items because they're already operating. They're already out on the streets. And this is a way to put those restrictions in place now.
And that's the aspect of this ordinance that I do agree with. One needs only take a ride around Portage during the day to realize that traffic is definitely an issue, and it ebbs and flows depending on the time of the day, but sometimes it can be downright brutal. Keeping golf carts on residential streets should hopefully work in certain areas. For example, in my subdivision, it would probably work. But at the same time, like the gentleman, we have drivers who go through fast. We have cars parked on both sides of the road. Two vehicles can't go through at the same time. One would have to stop and let the other one go. These are issues that we will eventually have to deal with as well with this golf course or golf cart ordinance. But having rules on the books, having regulations in place, I think is more productive and more effective than just letting it go, I don't want to say unregulated, but safety-wise, it's just something we have to keep in mind.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak about the ordinance? No other further questions from the council? If not, Nina, please call the roll.
Councilperson Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilperson Figurski?
Yes.
Councilperson Geisler?
Yes.
Councilperson Williams?
Yes.
Councilperson Gully?
Yes.
Councilperson Zilli?
Yes.
Okay, we have reception of remonstrances, petitions, and memorials from the public. And this time, if the public has anything that they would like to speak to the council about, any questions or concerns, please step to the microphone, give your name and address, and try to limit your comments to 2 minutes.
Evening.
Good evening.
My name is Tim Pritchett. I live at 2873 Sunset Street. I've had erosion in my yard for over a year. I just want to know what are y'all going to do about it?
Mr. Pritchett, on this phone, I have pictures of your ditch. I walked your ditch the other day with Dan Commenda, and I know that he's working on a couple of projects. I asked him to reach out to you. Once he finishes those, hopefully he will be addressing some of the concerns at the ditch. I'm not exactly sure what they are, but we did walk your ditch.
Okay.
So I do know what it looks like. I mean, I hear what you're saying.
Okay, thank you.
If I could add to this, to Mr. Pritchett's comment, I'm relatively familiar with his situation, having met him last year. I believe, if it's right, his neighbor had a project that was funded, a backyard erosion replacement project that was funded by the city. And so, right? I mean, that leaves us in that it sets a precedent, perhaps a dangerous precedent. Natural resources, natural causes of erosion. The lakefront isn't the only place that is going through that. And it's something I brought up at one of our virtual meetings during the pandemic. I hope that we can come up with some type of solution that satisfies all parties. So, Mr. Pritchett, you have our attention, definitely.
Do we know the last time did Stormwater approve this and it never came to the city, right? I would assume it was Stormwater that probably did this. Okay.
So I think we will be working with Dan to see what alternatives he has for that, Mr. Pritchett. I mean, there were several suggestions he had. We have multiple problems with Willow Creek. It floods, it has beaver dams. You take the beaver dams out and 2 days later the beaver dams are in there. You know, it's a major tributary that runs through our city, and it causes a lot of problems. But I did want you to know that I did walk your ditch. I'm happy to show you the pictures I took the other day, just to give myself an idea, because I asked Dan Commenda to take me out there, and I wanted to see what it looked like. So hopefully we'll be moving forward with something, but I'm not going to promise you something that I don't know what his plan is. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the council?
Hi, my name is Barb Losko. I live at 5895 Mulberry Avenue, and I've been a proud resident of the city of Portage since 1982. I just would like to thank the mayor and the council for the great job that you guys do. I'm a very proud resident of this city. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barb.
Beto?
You look prepared to speak.
You are. Hi. If there are no other matters to come before the council, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I just have one question, Madam Mayor, and actually this question is to the attorney. Do we need a motion to set the special meeting for October 20th?
No, we can just advertise it.
Okay, thank you.
And what time was that?
6:30.
Thank you.
6:30 here on October the 20th.
We've now advertised it.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, everyone, for attending. We appreciate you coming and presenting your comments. Thank you, Dr. Ellen.